Let me tell you about the most frustrating thing I've ever realized about success. You can have the perfect strategy, the right business model, the exact step by step blueprint, and still end up exactly where you started. Now, not because the strategy was wrong, because your self image wouldn't let you keep the result. Now, I've experienced this firsthand. I'd hit a new revenue number and then something would happen. I'd self sabotage. I would lose a client that I should have kept. I made a dumb decision I knew better than to make. And within a few weeks, I'd be back to my old number, like a thermostat resetting. It took me way too long to understand what was happening, but once I did, everything changed, and I mean everything. So there's a plastic surgeon named Maxwell Maltz who wrote a book in 1960 called Psycho-Cybernetics. And his discovery was one of the most important things you'll ever hear. He noticed that when he would fix someone's face or remove a scar or reshape a nose, whatever, some patient's entire personality would transform. More confident, more outgoing, completely different person. But the other patients, nothing changed. He'd give them the perfect nose and they would still feel ugly, still act insecure, still live like the person that had that scar. Then he realized it wasn't their face that was the problem, it was their self image, the internal picture they held of who they were. If the surgery matched the internal image, great. If it didn't, the internal image always won. So he concluded that you cannot outperform your self image, period. Your subconscious will always pull you back to the identity it believes is real. Now, think about that for a second. It doesn't matter how good your strategy is if your internal thermostat is set to a certain level, you'll always reset. Now, this is exactly what happens with lottery winners. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but the data is real. Studies show that a huge percentage of lottery winners end up back where they started financially within a few years. Some end up worse. Not because they're stupid, because their self image never changed. They got the money, but internally they were still the person who didn't have money. So their subconscious engineered situations to bring them back to baseline. Bad investments, toxic relationships, overspending. It looks like bad luck from the outside, but it's the thermostat resetting. Now, same thing happens in the other direction. You take everything from someone who genuinely identifies as wealthy and successful and watch how fast they rebuild. Because the internal image is set to that level. The circumstances are temporary, the identity is important. So here's where this gets practical, and here's where a teacher named Neville Goddard comes in. Goddard taught in the 50s, 60s, and his core idea was very simple, but radical. He said, stop trying to change your circumstances, change your state. Change who you believe you are on the inside, and the outside has no choice but to follow. He put it this way: assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Don't visualize the thing you want like it's far away. Don't hope for it. Assume the identity of the person who already has it. Feel what they'd feel. Think how they think. Move through the day as that person. And here's the part that connects to the science. Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's a cell biologist, has shown that roughly 95% of our behavior is driven by our subconscious programs, not conscious choice. Programs, patterns installed through repetition, mostly before the age of 7. So when Goddard says change the assumption, and Maltz says change the self-image, and Lipton says reprogram that subconscious, they're all pointing to the same thing from different angles. The operating system running in the background is creating your results. And until you update that operating system, no amount of strategy will matter. Now, let me tell you what this looked like in my life, because the theory is nice, but you need to see it to work. So when I was building my lead generation business, I kept hitting the same ceiling. And I couldn't figure out why. The systems worked, the ads were profitable, the clients were happy, but I'd get a certain revenue number and something will always pull me back. Then when I got honest with myself, I realized my self-image was still the guy figuring things out. Scrappy, hustling, not the guy running a real operation. So every time the business grew past what the guy figuring things out would have, my subconscious went to work pulling it back. The shift wasn't a new strategy, it was a new identity. I started operating as the version of me that already ran the business that I wanted. How would that guy make decisions? How would he carry himself on sales calls? How would he structure his day? And the weird thing is, nothing external changed at first. Same business, same clients, same market, but within a few months, the results started matching the new image. More partners, better deals, higher revenue, and the thermostat reset to a new level. So if you're connecting the dots right now, take a second and subscribe. I go deep on this stuff every week. The intersection of psychology, consciousness, and actually building something real. Okay, let's dive into the framework. Here's a protocol I use. It says 3 steps. Step 1, identify the old self-image. Now let's get brutally honest about who you currently believe you are. Not who you want to be, who your subconscious thinks you are right now, and write that down. For example, I'm the kind of person who blank, and finish that sentence honestly. That's your current thermostat setting. Step 2, script a new identity. Write a new version. I'm the kind of person who makes decisions quickly. I'm the kind of person who handles 6-figure months easily. I'm the kind of person who attracts high quality opportunities. Make it specific. Make it feel like a slight stretch, but not totally unbelievable. Your subconscious needs to be able to accept it. Now, step 3, saturate nightly. This is where Goddard techniques comes in. Every night before you fall asleep, when your brain is dropping into the theta mode, that's the drowsy state where your conscious mind is fading, run a short scene in your imagination that implies the new identity is real. First person, sensory detail, and really feel it. Don't watch it like a movie. Be in it. The key is the feeling, not the picture. The subconscious doesn't respond to images. It responds to emotion. If you can generate the feeling of being that person, even for 60 seconds, you're writing the new code on the operating system. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza, the neuroscientist who's done brain scans on people, kind of, doing this thing in his practice. And what he found is that when you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, your brain literally cannot tell the difference between the imagined experience and the real one. Same neural pathways fire, same chemistry releases. Which means every night you do this, your brain is building neural evidence that the new identity is real. And over time, that evidence becomes the dominant program. The thermostat resets, and your behavior, your decisions, your opportunities, they all start matching the new setting. So here's what I want to leave you with. The world is a mirror. It reflects back whatever identity you're broadcasting. If you keep seeing the same circumstances, the same income, the same patterns, it's not the world that needs to change. It's the person looking into the mirror. Change the source. The reflection has no choice but to follow. Stop trying to change your life, change your identity, and life will catch up. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.